You are listening to the MisMatch presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the best place to bet on the NBA. Because not only does FanDuel have all your favorite player props, but now you can even check out stats and recent performance trends right in the app before you make your picks. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today to get in on the action. The Ringer is committed to responsible gambling. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Remember, you must be 21 and over and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
Welcome to the MisMatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me as he does every week from TheRinger.com is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
What's happening, Verno? So good to be outside of the house.
Yeah, well, the first thing we've got to get to is last night's NCAA National Championship game, which everybody was focused on because it was a super light night in the NBA, though we have a huge week ahead. Florida wins the national championship 65-63. I must say, I watched a ton of this NCAA tournament, but as someone who watches NBA games on a regular basis, though it was not pretty, though it was a totally different brand of basketball, I got to tell you, I was super entertained by the game last night.
The whole Final Four has just been top notch. And again, when I say top notch, I mean in terms of entertaining, emotional basketball, because the actual basketball is not even close to the NBA. But put that aside, is one of the things I asked myself last night, I want to ask you now is, remember last year's NBA Finals, right? Celtics win, Mavs lost.
Right.
I felt nothing towards the Mavericks players or coaches. Nothing. I couldn't care less. But watching the end of the game last night,
oh my God,
I just felt so crushed. I just felt so secondhand crushed for those Houston players, just all of them, and just like the emotions on their face. It's something about their youth, and they are getting paid, so it's not even like that anymore. But my sort of like secondhand depression is so different watching the college game than the NBA game.
We need somebody to cry when they lose. That's what we need.
I cried.
No. I'm saying in the NBA. What if a guy just hit the ground like it?
Well, Embiid did that. But then we make fun of him for it. We make fun of him for it. We do. We make fun of him for it.
I tell you this. There's no way your heart cannot break for Emmanuel Sharp.
Oh, God.
Because, and in some cases, in many cases, who knows? I don't know if Emmanuel Sharp's going to be an NBA player or not. I'm sure he will make a living playing professional basketball, whether it's in the NBA or elsewhere. But years ago, I was at one of the most famous college moments like that. I was in the arena. Well, obviously, one of the biggest meltdowns happened in 2008 when Memphis lost the Final Four to Kansas. But beyond that, there is a Darius Washington was playing for Memphis, and they had a chance to go to the NCAA tournament if they beat Rick Pitino and Louisville. And he got fouled on a 3 at the end. And I still to this day cannot watch it back on like YouTube, and when they show it back, it breaks my heart every time because he misses the free throws and he falls on all fours, and Vern Lundquist is like, somebody's got to go help that kid up.
Oh, God.
And I was in the arena, Jacoby, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was the most depressing thing. I mean, it was horrible. And last night, I had this flashback as I watch Emmanuel Sharp, because this team that has been full of dogs that has gotten to this moment and then did not lose their grip on things, even down big to Duke and storm back in that game. Their last 4 possessions, they turned it over every time.
Oh, my God.
The last 4 possessions, and 2 of them are the same kid.
Yeah. Well,
and it was
the last possession
brutal.
The last possession wasn't. That was really more of a defensive play by Clayton, but they didn't score in the last 2 minutes and 20 seconds. You're not going to win a lot of games. You're not going to win close games like that. And you know what? I always say this is like, it's going to hurt, but being the second best team it's good too. You're a silver medalist.
No, this is where we're going to part ways.
You made the Final Four. You're on the floor.
No.
And I from an emotional standpoint, in terms of like personal stories, I loved Clayton's game. Because all we were talking about is this kid coming into the finals. It's all we would talk about. And he couldn't get anything done. And you could tell, because we always talk about Houston's defense. We talked about them at length, and everyone's talking about them. And they were not letting him do anything. And then they took him out, and they were showing him on the bench. And finally, he made some huge buckets down the stretch. And obviously that defensive contest was just sort of like broke the play. So I like that it wasn't superstar has bad game, loses finals, and that changes his life forever. It is superstar has bad game, makes some huge plays down the stretch, wins the championship with his teammates.
Fun to watch, though, and congrats to Florida. That was it is, I honestly think, like, sometimes this stuff comes and goes, and you don't even remember what happened, the way it ends. That is certainly one I think that we are going to remember for, as long as we can. It's going to be one that stands out.
So, question. I'm glad you said that, sort of about like what will echo through time from this tournament, because I think it's going to be the Duke collapse. I think the Duke collapse will echo through time much more than the actual national championship game that came down to the last possession.
I think you're probably right about that, simply because it was Duke involved.
I didn't realize.
And because it was like, it was unheard of.
I didn't realize that because I'm not as involved in the college game, and I didn't go to a college that has like a big basketball program. I didn't realize that when Duke loses, the rest of the country celebrates this hard. Like, I didn't know that these were the dynamics.
What, did you just move to the United States?
Yeah, it was just like, Duke lost. It was just like, we just celebrated the Duke breakdown as a nation for 48 hours until the finals.
Well, there's another team that people do root against pretty vociferously if they are not a fan of. And that is the Los Angeles Lakers, and it was a bad weekend for anybody that roots against them because, my God, Jacoby, what they did to Oklahoma City this weekend was incredible. There's a lot of narrative of Luka versus Oklahoma City. This was he's been a thorn in their side prior to, and he had 37 and 6. They out-rebounded the Thunder 43-34. There was no free throws for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I wonder, as you watch that unfold this weekend, what level of significance we need to discuss, what level of significance we put on that. Because is this the Lakers are in a situation where they need to win games, especially given the state of the Western Conference. And so you are never going to be able to manufacture desperation. And not like LA is desperate, but it mattered much, much, much more to them than it does the Oklahoma City Thunder. No matter what happens, it's not going to change the standing of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Lakers were absolutely nuclear from 3. What level of significance do you think we put on what the Lakers did to the Thunder?
It's a really good question, because it's almost like a debate class. I could take either side of this. I could say that this is the most significant win for the Lakers. They proved where their ceiling is. They are a really tough out, and they just absolutely curb stomped the best team in the Western Conference, if not the entire league, right? And you could say they figured things out and they're growing this and that, but I think it's interesting, because I'm going to bring up a game that I brought up before, was that the Emirates Cup game between the Luka and the then Mavs and the Thunder, because they absolutely just dominated Luka. They were doubling him at the touch. There was and no one else could score, and they made it look like it wasn't even a challenge for them to stop Luka. And that game Luka was unstoppable. Early on in the game, they ran a double at him at half court. He kicked it to DFS down to Rui dunk. And then Case and Wallace just seemed like too small for him. And then he gets a switch, and Chet is on him, and he just hits a step back three. It just felt like this defense, which rockets them, whoever, best defense in the league. This defense, which I've seen be so dominant and shut down so many great players and so many great offenses, just did not have an answer for Luka, no matter what they threw at him. And when you ask about the significance, this is not going to change the way I feel about teams, but the Luka Lakers have had high highs and low lows, but this is the absolute ceiling.
Okay. I will say I have been on an island as compared to many of my peers about my skepticism of Oklahoma City. Is that fair? It's fair.
Oh, yeah. You're alone. Okay. You are alone. It's you and a volleyball out there.
And I watched them both games. And part of the reason I have said this is because I have lived this. Rooting for a young team that's trying to make their way. And then you run up against teams that are loaded with full-grown men. And it looked like a team of full-grown men for the Lakers. It also looked that way in many cases when they were playing against Houston on Friday night, right? And so, and that's the hard thing for us to square is, does the recent swoon of Cleveland matter? Does the last two games where they have played against playoff peers that they might very well see in the playoffs for teams that probably needed it more than them, do those matter, right? They have built this massive track record throughout the year that has been absolutely unbelievable, but trying to decide how significant that is against those teams because they got bullied twice, right? Chet Holmgren had 4 rebounds and 3 rebounds.
Woof.
That's what happened against Houston and then against LA. And you are going up against these teams that have these full-grown men. And I got to say, to me, the Houston one was more significant than the Lakers one. Because I think that you and I are on the same page where we don't have some kind of massive questions about the Lakers or what level of playoff team they are going to be. There's a proper respect for LeBron James and Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, that group, right? And they've kind of settled on their 8 guys where they bring Vando and they bring DFS and they bring Gabe Vincent. So they got their 8, okay? They might be a little they might not have the best of rim protection.
Rim protection is certainly a question.
But here's the thing. One of the things you noticed when you were watching them on Sunday is like, bro, okay, they don't have that, but damn it, if the whole damn team is not 6'8" or above, it seems like, on the rest of the time. So it's like they kind of make up for it by having real size all across the board. So Houston was the one that we were going to be looking at. We looked at it, we go, and you look back to, the last month, the schedule lightened up for them. But the schedule was about to get murderous. Houston was about to have to play Oklahoma City. They're about to have to play Golden State. Their next game is the Clippers. Then they play at the Lakers. Then they play Denver. It's like that is a 5-game stretch of murder. And they have passed the test with flying colors through the first 2. Houston, the Lakers, if you wanted to say it mattered a lot more to them than Oklahoma City, and they just went nuclear from 3, and, if you make 20-something threes, I don't care what team, right? I mean, that one to me is a little easier to write off and just say that was an extreme outlier. Like, who is shooting like that? That was crazy. They're shooting 70-something% from 3. And then you're just rolling a boulder uphill if you're Oklahoma City. The Houston one, though, to me was more significant because of the Houston side of this, which is, all right, this is a great regular season story. They're obviously going to have the 2 seed, but what's going to happen when when this schedule tightens up on them in these last 5. And not only have they won both those games, Jacoby, they won them both by double digits. They beat both those teams by double digits. And so I think we got to really perk up on Houston, who is now 15-2 in their last 17 games.
Damn. Well, a couple things. Number one, I'll just hit the Lakers quickly first to say, you're right to point out. So guess what? You miss your threes against the Warriors, you lose. You hit a ton of threes against the Thunder, you win easily. You score 78 points in the first half, you're going to win the game, right? And there is just sort of some shooting variance that has been well documented and discussed that you're just going to have to deal with as an NBA team. But the thing about the Lakers, the post-Luka Lakers I find so interesting is the defensive variance. Like they gave up 146 to the Bulls.
Right.
And then they shut down the Thunder. Like it just, and then that to me is what's frightening if I'm in the Western Conference and I'm not the Lakers. Because we all know that in the regular season over 82 games or the 25 games that Luka's been there or whatever, that, effort, intensity, rest can kind of go up and down. But in the playoffs is when they're going to play their best defense, and they've proven that they can really ratchet that end up. And I give JJ Redick a lot of credit for sort of the defensive scheming that he's put together. And I also find it really interesting in the sort of chess move that this evening, let me just look at this here. Rui Hachimura has been ruled out. Doncic, questionable. Finney Smith, questionable. Bron James, questionable. The other LeBron James is questionable. Austin Reeves is questionable. Gabe Vincent is questionable. They're basically saying, and both the games are in OKC. They're basically saying, you see what we did to you on Sunday? You're not going to see us again.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you an opportunity to get right against us. We're not even going to give you the sort of like the emotional satisfaction of turning this around because you're going to be playing against Jackson Hayes and a bunch of other dudes. And you can have that win. Go ahead, because we're going to be fully rested when we go to Dallas for Luka's game against the Mavericks.
It's a super interesting chess move. And you do have to wonder, again, I'm setting this aside. It very well may be, and it may come to pass, that those games that we are now getting from the Lakers, from the Clippers, from Minnesota, from all of these teams, we are getting playoff level intensity simply because of the standings. Nobody wants to be playing in the play-in. Nobody wants to not have home court advantage. Like, these games matter a massive amount simply because everybody has the same amount of losses. And so, of course, if you are in that spot, you are going to treat that game and that scout and that level of intensity much, much differently than you are if your spot is secured. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out if it matters at all what's going on with Cleveland and what's going on with Oklahoma City.
I won't say it doesn't matter at all. I'd say it's not that significant. It doesn't change the way I feel about their playoff potential. And I also think the Lakers are now kind of locked into 3 because they need to win 2 games, which is kind of why they're taking this one off. Because they have the Mavericks and the Blazers on the schedule left. They've got the Mavericks, the Rockets, and then the Blazers. But the rest, like the 4 through whatever in the West, that grouping, they're all playing playoff games right now. I do want to pivot to the Rockets because I think they have been just so interesting lately.
Okay, so I said they're 15-2, right? I went and pulled this, Jacoby. They're 15-2 in their last 17 games. They won by double digits over Oklahoma City. They won by double digits over Golden State.
Golden State was a close game. I think it's fair to say. Like, they might be double digits, but that was a close game. Yeah,
I got it. And they were both wars. Oklahoma City, Jalen Green had 34, and then he had 21 against Golden State. Looked good in both of those games, which is one of the things that we have talked about. So I went and pulled it when this all started. So from March 6th to roughly April 6th, 2 days ago, they are 15-2. Since that time, in the 17 games, Houston has had the number 4 offense in the NBA, the number 2 defense in the NBA, and the second best net rating in the NBA. Now, what is interesting is I went to go pull those numbers just to see like how they've been playing for this month as we head into, and obviously they are startling numbers, incredible numbers. What was most fascinating, I was like, who is, of course you got to like sift through that stuff. And I'm like, who is number 1? Like, who has a bet? Their net rating is plus 13% per 100 possessions. It is the Los Angeles Clippers at plus 15.
Oh, yeah.
The Clippers have been
They've also got the same record, right? Aren't they like 13-3 in their last 16 or something?
If we're trying to check out, like, all right, who's been playing their best basketball leading into the playoffs, whether that's indicative of what's going to happen or not, certainly those are a couple of teams that we got to perk up at. But let's start with Houston and what we've made of them knocking off both Oklahoma City and Golden State over the weekend.
One of the things I love about Houston and what they did to Steph Curry was just, I mean, I don't think I've seen Steph Curry play worse. I really don't. I mean, he had some assists and he was like playmaking or whatever, but like they put Amen Thompson on him and they're like, whatever, don't even look. Just don't even look. Don't even turn your head over your shoulder on defense. Just cover him. And then the Warriors they're like, oh, we're going to target Fred VanVleet. We'll target Fred VanVleet. Though he's covering Draymond. Oh, let's just eat that up. And to Fred VanVleet's credit, he really sort of ratcheted up and was not allowing himself to be targeted in that way. And I really felt that, when teams decide they have a mismatch on the floor and they're going to milk that mismatch, sometimes it sort of gets them out of whack. And I felt like that's what they did with the Warriors. And the thing about this Rockets team that I love, because I was watching that clip of Ime and Steph kind of going back and forth, right? You saw that clip. We all saw that clip. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was like, damn, like, wasn't it last year that Ime was trying to start with LeBron James?
Yep.
I was like, didn't he say, like, you're not that type? And I was like, then I started thinking, I was like, how many coaches in the NBA currently do we have that routinely sort of like go back and forth aggressively with opposing players? And it got me going to another word, which I loved about the Knicks last year, which is identity. Like the Rockets have an identity and it's led by Ime Udoka. We're going to be physical. We're going to be defensive. We're going to mix it up a little bit. And if Draymond gets into it with Sengun, we're going to give it back to him. And we're going to, if Ime overhears Steph complaining to the refs, he's going to pipe up and say something. And I just absolutely love that for them. And over the course of this month, I'm going to be honest, I was looking at the Rockets and the Grizzlies as first-round exits in the Western Conference for quite some time. And that list is now down to one team because
I knew you'd do this.
If the Grizzlies make the playoffs. And I will say that the Rockets have convinced me that they are the number 2 seed. I'm going to say that the second best chance to make the NBA Finals, but my opinion of them has dramatically changed.
It's so fascinating that they both are harbored in the same city. They remind me of the college team.
I was going to say that too.
Where if you told me that they got in a gutter war and lost by not getting a shot off at the end of the game, it would not surprise me. You know what I mean? Like everything about those two teams you love. It's like, all right, we're about to drag you into hell with us. And we're going to see how you react to it. I mean, that was the whole Ime Udoka thing. You heard him say cry twice. If they start crying, make them cry more. You know what I mean? Like, we're putting our hands on them. We're going to make everybody adjust to us. Like, let them complain about the fouls and everything else. But that's not us, right? Like, I mean, they want that thing to be a fight. They want to pull you into a bar fight, which is exactly what just gave so much success to that Houston Cougars team. Mm-hmm. And yet, the same way we talk about it, which is you're going to have these specific game plans towards that team, and we don't know how all those guys are going to react, but we know they got a lot of guys that shoot like 40-something% from the field, right? They don't do this with this incredible offensive acumen. Mm-mm. They do this by, all right, fine. We're going to put Steven Adams and Sengun out there at the same time, and you're never getting a rebound. If we miss, we get it back. If you miss, we get it. They remind me so much in many ways of those grit and grind Grizzlies teams that I covered for so many years, where you came to the party with Zebo and Gasol. You had Tony Allen running around out there like Amen Thompson. And again, you might not be offensively, you might not be offensively good enough to be able to get it done like when it's nip-tuck games in the last couple of minutes, but whoever they play is going to come out of that thing with bumps and bruises, and they will have had to go to hell and back in order to win it, because every single night they are just going to lay it out there on the line. They may not be, they may have the offensive deficiencies that hold them back, which was true of those old Memphis teams.
Yeah.
And what made it even more fascinating is watching them play Golden State. I mean, I was like, I'm having deja vu here. Like, I remember this. I remember this team that couldn't get, you know what I mean? You were bullying them. You were pushing them around. You were, pumped your chest out. And I'm not talking about the young Grizzlies that got into it with them a couple of years ago. I'm talking about the old teams. Like, I'm talking a decade ago, 15 years ago, watching these games. And what's crazy is, obviously, two of the major competitors from that, Curry and Draymond, still exist. They were young at that point. But this Houston team, I promise you this: whenever you have to go up against them, you're gonna know you went up against them, because they are gonna fight you every single game. They are fun. They're fun.
I think like the two big thing has been talked about a lot with Sengun and Adams, and watching them. It's not just about the sort of metrics and the counting stats. It's like, all right, guess what? Steven Adams didn't get that offensive rebound, but you had to work so hard to keep him off the boards. And you have to do it next possession and next possession.
Watching people try to move him.
Exactly. It's like, Steven Adams didn't get the rebound. Like, good win for you. But it takes 100% effort to make that the case. And it's the same way when you're on offense. And I'm watching Steph Curry because he was having a tough game. And I was watching how they're defending him. And he's working so hard just to get the ball in his hands. And they make you work so hard and they wear you down, sort of like that University of Houston team. Like, it's just hard to operate. They make things difficult for you to operate. And it has been very successful. But am I going to sit here into this microphone and say they're going to be in the Western Conference Finals? Probably not. Probably not. And I still feel like they are a star away from a contending team, but they've looked really good lately, and they've got the bones, man. They've got the bones in the coach and the attitude and the identity, and I really love to see what they do in the postseason.
And they're going to make for a fun playoff series no matter who they face up, right?
Yes.
No matter who they have to face, it's going to make for a fun playoff series, because they are different than everybody else.
It's a good way of putting it.
They're unique.
We're not saying they're better than everybody else.
No, they are unique.
They bring something different to the table.
Yes.
They bring something different to the table. They are.
Yes. And it's also different for every team that has to face them. I mean, Chet was in hell on Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, whoa, this sucks. Like, it's just size and these full-grown men, and they're just bodying me on a regular basis. It's like, man, I need to go get some creatine. And Chet, one day Chet's going to be the bully, but he's not yet. You know what I mean? Right? And you see these guys trying to box out Steven Adams. I got this full Steven Adams experience here, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic. I love Steven Adams.
I've always been a fan. I've always been a fan since OKC. I just like because he's got the brute force. Like, just a Steven Adams screen is just different than any other screen in the league. But he also has touch in hands. Like, one of the things that bothers me so much about Mitchell Robinson is he catches like 2/3 of the passes that are thrown his way. You know what I mean?
That's 2/3 is come on, that's a lot.
Okay.
Half.
But still,
I will say, why does Brunson always throw the ball low? He drives me crazy. Why does he do that all the time? He loves passing at people's ankles.
Because he's a little dude. But
I got it.
But Steven Adams, it's like he's got the brute force and he's the ability to get the ball, but he'll also put it back with soft hands, and he'll catch a pass with soft hands, which I love about him. But the transition here is we're talking about teams going the right direction. Nuggets, Verno.
Oh, I hated the Michael Malone. I know he gets mad if you call him Mike. Michael Malone.
Michael.
I don't know if you saw these after this recent swoon, this skid that they have had. And so he was meeting with reporters and he was asked about Murray. And basically the inference, I think, from
I've got the quote right here.
The reporters
I was it too.
Is he okay? Basically, is this precautionary because we're headed towards the playoffs? And he was like, no, Jamal is hurt. This is not being careful. He is hurt. It was day to day, and the next thing you know, it's not day to day. But he's hurt. And I was like, oh, no. Like, you want to talk about horrendous timing, because we saw him hobbled last year, and he was a shell of himself. And I think one of the things that we realize is Jokic needs him to not only be available, but be awesome. And that, at least from those quotes, makes you wonder if that's even possible.
Yeah. So we did a show, I think it was a week ago, the morning after that double overtime game of the year, Timberwolves, Nuggets. Murray was out, but like, what a game. And I'm watching that game and I'm saying to myself, this is not just amazing basketball. These are two teams that have playoff intensity, playoff ceilings. Wow. Right? Wow. If Westbrook makes the layup, who knows? Look at the Nuggets doing this without Murray. They haven't won since. They lost to the Spurs. They didn't play anybody in that game. They lost to the Warriors, and they lost to the Pacers in a tight one. But the Murray thing is, it's very concerning. If you're a Nuggets fan, you're saying to yourself, we can't do this again. Because it's starting to feel more like the championship was the outlier with Murray's health, rather than last year was the outlier with Murray's health. The Murray thing, as my good friend Chris Vernon says, soft tissue, hamstring, and this is not new with Murray and injuries. And there's a world in which we look back at that championship run and that duo during that run, and we say that was the outlier season. That was the one when he was healthy. Because if this goes the wrong way, there's a track record now of his unavailability leading to them losing.
Can you imagine if they were the ones that were in the play-in?
It's possible.
I mean, yeah. Look, you have all of these teams. You have 6 teams that all have 32 losses. Now, the Nuggets right now have one more win than their peers, but you look down the stretch, it's at Sacramento, Memphis, at Houston.
And Houston won't really have anything to play for at that point.
Probably not.
No. But the Grizzlies got something to play for.
Yeah.
The Kings looked pretty good last night while everyone else was watching the national championship.
I know, right? How about, have you ever seen Levine so fired up? Oh, my God. Levine was on. Oh.
It's like, we can talk about the Kings another time, but like, they were the team I loathed on Friday, but there is that version of them too, where it's like a legit big 3 with Malik Monk as like your guy off the bench. Like, there's a version of the Kings which is very scary.
Especially if you were like the team that loses the 7-8 game, and let's say they beat like Dallas, right? Like either one of those. Look, whoever loses the 7-8 game is going to have to face either Anthony Davis or that group, which on a random night, if you're playing a 48-minute game, you could chalk up Sabonis for a double-double, and one of those guys can get hot and drop 36 on you. They got multiple guys that could. So again, if you're just playing, if your whole season comes down to one game, it's like, these guys can be dangerous.
I can't imagine why Chris Vernon would be focused on the team that loses the 7-8 games fate.
Well, hold on now.
Oh, wait, that's the Memphis Grizzlies. You already know. You already know.
Well, look, Memphis is going to beat Charlotte. So that gets you to 48, right?
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 47. 47. And then you look at theirs down the stretch. They control their own fate. They're playing Minnesota and they're playing Denver. So you can get to a win total that they can't. Meanwhile, we know that the Clippers and the Warriors play each other. So one of them is for sure going to have a loss, right? There's only a finite amount of teams that can get to, right? Like if you're looking, how can I get to 49? How can I get to 50? Like the maximum amount of games, the maximum amount of games that either the Clippers or the Warriors is reduced by 1 because they play against each other. The maximum amount of games you can get to if you are Minnesota or Memphis or Denver or Memphis is reduced by 1 because you're playing each other. And so all of these teams, in most cases, control their own destiny. Whoa. They sit there, they have no one to blame. A lot of times it can be indicative of like you are at the mercy of the other teams and what they are going to do. But so many of them are playing against each other down the stretch that if you are, say, Memphis, you sit there and you go, look, if we get to this number, the other teams can't because we played both of them. And so
I think
it is what it is.
We don't have to get bogged down with Memphis talk because, but I'll say
you brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
I did. That's fair. But there's that Timberwolves game in Memphis Thursday night.
Late game, too.
Tough game. And then what is it? Board a plane and go to Denver?
It's the worst back-to-back in history.
I don't even know how that works time-wise.
No, it's the worst back-to-back. It's
I don't even know how that works.
I mean, it's a disaster.
And I listen, and there's
by the way,
thing too.
So games are typically 7:30 games. Or I'm sorry, 7 o'clock games. 7 Central, 8 your time. Okay?
Yeah.
That game's an 8:30 game.
So it's
Minnesota.
9:30 my time? Oh
correct.
My Ew.
I mean, they won't even get on the plane until what? Like 12, 1?
And even then.
And then you're going to Denver, which is you lose every. And no one has. If you win a back-to-back in Denver, you deserve a trophy.
I don't think it's ever happened. I don't think it's ever happened. I don't think it's ever because they've been road trips where you go from Utah to Denver. You just take a short plane ride or whatever. But going sort of like from the east, which Memphis isn't exactly the east, but taking a long flight to Denver with the built-in altitude advantage and they got Nikola Jokic. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough.
That too.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. Life gets busy, and we could all use an extra hour or save one. With Walmart Express Delivery, you can do just that. Simply place your order. In as fast as an hour, it's at your door. Use promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order. No hassle, no stress, just more time for what matters most. Visit walmart.com to order now. Promotion valid with first express delivery order. $50 minimum, subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Hey, let me tell you about one of my favorite bets that FanDuel has right now. They're called Player Performance Doubles. If you don't know about them, you got to check them out. They're super simple. They're these 2-leg parlays that are already crafted for you. FanDuel takes an NBA player prop and then combines it with a bet on that player's team to win. Simple. There's a bunch of them for every game. You just have to pick the one that you like. It is Tuesday when we're recording the mismatch. There are a couple big games tonight. Of course, I have my eye on the Celtics versus the Knicks. Doesn't really mean that much for the Celtics, so I don't know if they're going to really go hard in that one. There's, of course, the rematch of the Lakers and the Thunder, but it doesn't look like too many Lakers are going to play. So I have my eye on what could be a play-in preview game between the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. Interesting. I have my eye on Paolo Banchero and the Magic to win this one. So whether you want to ride with me in that or pick your own, FanDuel is giving all customers a profit boost exclusively for these player performance doubles on Tuesday. So just head to FanDuel.com/mismatch to get your profit boost. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You must be 21 and over and present in select states or 18 and over and present in D.C. Opt-in require. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
All right, let's get to what we've got here this last week. So we were talking about the standings and kind of how it shakes up. If we were going, so we've got this week to play out. Obviously, we'll be able to reconvene on Friday. If you were picking an opponent, again, this can shake out a myriad of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Who would you want Oklahoma City to be matched up with in the first round for the best possible, for the most
for
fun?
Me, not if I'm Oklahoma City, not if, for the most fun?
Yeah, no, as a viewer. And I am going to set aside any of my rooting and say, as a viewer, what would be the most fun to watch? That could happen.
That could happen. So I'm taking the Lakers out. The Lakers are out. I would say
because they're not going to fall to the play.
No. The Lakers need to win 2 games, correct, and they still have the Trailblazers in that Mavs game. They're going to win that Mavs game by 55 points. Like, please. But I would say, it would be the Golden State Warriors. It would be
Golden State.
You know what? Because let me explain. And this is right up your alley, Verno. Right up your alley.
So I had Golden State against Houston because of the smoke that just happened on.
Oh, but let me give you my pitch. Let me give you my pitch. Historically great team. You can look at all the numbers up and down. You could write a full 400-page book about this Thunder season and how amazing they are, even without Chet and Jalen Williams, J. Will getting hurt, and the defensive numbers and everything, and SGA, the MVP. You could write this whole. You could just sing their praises for hours. But guess what? We got Steph Curry. He's got gray hair. We got Draymond Green with a gray beard. We got Jimmy Butler, who has the most impactful 8-6-4 game you've ever seen in your whole entire life, and we've got the championship pedigree. So we just battle scars up and down our bodies against the young hot team with the best regular season that we've seen in a long time, if not forever. Right? That to me would be the ideal matchup. It's that clash of styles. It's experience versus regular season success, and that's not going to be an easy series for the Thunder to win.
So would you rather watch? So I had it as Houston Warriors and I may be prisoner of the moment because of the Ime Udoka stuff Sunday.
Well, it's not just that. It's Draymond. The Draymond Şengün thing was pretty real.
That series would be amazing.
They're barking at each other, and that whole thing on the inbounds with the tech, and then Şengün getting an and one and screaming at him, and Udoka and Steph Curry in the post games. They're trading little barbs at each other.
How can you not want that? So I had OKC was hard to find at Po2, and I don't think they're going to be 8, but the Clippers would be the fun one simply because they traded SGA to. Once upon a time.
People forget that, man.
And this is one of those rites of passage, the young team going up against the hardcore veteran team that's been very good recently. And, they're going to get schemed up by Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy. And so that's truly playoff scars walking through the fire, having to play again. You're going to get tested
I don't think
in
that
a
would
massive
be as competitive.
way.
I don't think that would be as competitive as a Warriors series.
Oh, I think the Clippers have been absolutely awesome recently.
Well, I didn't say that. It's not what I said. I said I don't think it would be as competitive. I think that the Warriors would be more competitive against the Thunder than the Clippers.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow. I disagree completely. I think the Clippers are I think they're scary. I think they're scary.
It just I just
would
don't
you rather
rely,
watch the Lakers play? Who would you rather watch the Lakers play against? The Nuggets, the Wolves, or the Grizzlies?
All right, so the Mavericks can't get to the 6th seed.
Yeah, right.
Lakers, Nuggets, Wolves, Grizzlies. Obviously, I'm just because of the history, I'm going Nuggets there.
Lakers, Nuggets.
we've seen it. You know what I mean? It's like we've seen it.
So this is the time where the Lakers turn the corner now because they.
I would favor the Lakers in that series, but it's also dramatic and fun if the Nuggets beat them again. Like you got Luka, like who you bring in next year to try to beat us? You know, like that would be fun for me.
So that would leave Wolves versus Grizzlies, which we're actually going to see this week on Thursday night, and the NBA would put on Discovery Channel.
Yeah, it is
one of those Edwards Morant things, and they have met each other in the playoffs prior to.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
they have played a couple years ago in the playoffs. And look, the Kings or the Mavs are dangerous for any of these teams. I stand
really.
By that. I stand by that.
I would say in a play-in situation.
I stand by that. For one game, you don't have to beat them.
For one game, yes.
That's all I'm saying.
For one game, puncher's chance. But in a 7-game series, they're gentlemen's sweep at best.
Oh no. If those two, if either one of those teams wins the 8th seed, they will get crushed.
Yeah,
crushed. The Mavs would at least maybe win a game.
Maybe. I can't
just
see
because just Anthony Davis has 38 and 20 or whatever. Like, I mean, they might. But I mean, did you see what? I mean, look, you see what the Mavs, what happened to them when they tried to play the Clippers this weekend? I mean,
they're back to back,
thrown in the garbage bin.
And it was back to back games, back to back nights, right? Tough,
yeah, brutal.
And there's
smoked in both.
Do you know what? So I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm a Knicks supporter. And one of the most interesting things that's happening towards the end of the season, and we have so much focus on the Western Conference because there is so much drama and so much volatility there. But the Bucks Pistons are basically having like a playoff series at the end of the season, hopefully for the 5 seed. Could very well go that back-to-back games decide who's the 5 seed and who's the 6 seed.
You would
who's
say,
playing the Pacers and who's playing the Knicks.
As a Knicks guy, you would much rather see Detroit.
Not even close. That's not even a question. It's not even a question. Not even a question.
So you
I want nothing to do with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo or Cade Cunningham? I'll take Cade Cunningham in his first playoff game.
I think they have won twice in the Garden, haven't they?
Whatever. The Knicks haven't beat anybody good all year long.
You're unafraid. You're unafraid. You're unafraid. All right. So that I guess you would have Oklahoma City against the Warriors.
I just think it would be fun.
And I want Houston Warriors. And then we get Lakers Nuggets, and then we would get T-Wolves Grizzlies.
Because there's
we're just basing it on who's the 8 teams right now, and we're not
the Lakers
playing team.
I didn't expect the Lakers to sort of like have the 3 seed, and they mathematically do not, but it's likely they will be the 3 seed. And there is a scenario in which we get OKC Lakers Western Conference Finals. Now there's a million battles to be had before that, but I didn't really expect them to be like solidly on the other side of the bracket from the Thunder, which makes things very interesting.
It would be crazy if you're talking about like if it played out the way you had it instead of the way I had it, that would lead to Oklahoma City having to beat the Warriors and Steph and then the Lakers and LeBron back to back. There's no greater rite of passage for a young team than that.
No, they'd have to beat the Warriors and then whoever wins the 4-5 and then LeBron.
But you would have Oh no, you okay? Yeah. So you would have Lakers as 3-6. So
the Lakers are in the 3-6. I mean, they're going. I mean, listen, who knows? The league is weird; things happen. But I think the Lakers are going to end up in the 3.
I think you're probably right. On the Eastern Conference side, the only thing that particularly makes a huge difference is who that Knicks opponent is. We know the Cavs are 1. We know the Celtics are 2. We know the Knicks are 3. And so now we're just, which gives us. You're rooting for it to be Pacers Bucks, and I actually think from a viewing experience, Pacers Bucks as the 4-5 would be the most fun.
Would be better. It's
and they've got smoke against each other. You remember Halliburton doing the Dame Time thing last year, and like they got smoke against each other. So then it would be Knicks Pistons, and then I guess Celtics Orlando and Cavs versus Boy, God,
No,
that would be.
Cavs
if we're
I'm
trying to
guessing
get, if
Cavs
we're
or
trying to get
Orlando,
people to get into the Cavs, putting them up against Atlanta or Chicago,
it's going to be Cavs,
Atlanta.
But here's the thing.
Maybe Miami could win a couple games.
Here's my question, Verno, about the Eastern Conference, right?
Okay.
Doesn't it just feel like that 3 through 8 are just logs being thrown into wood chippers round after round against
this is where we
the
disagree.
Cavs and the Celtics? I just feel like we're just taking logs and just putting them in the wood chippers that are the Cavs and the Celtics. That's what it feels like. It's so funny.
I am higher on your team than you are.
Oh yeah, I'm out. I'm out.
I will tell you that when I went and you remember one of the things that was a bystander of me looking up those Houstin stats over the course of the last month of the season, and what has happened is when I looked through those and I told you that the Clippers had a plus 14.9 net rating. Number 2 was Houston. Number 3 was Boston. Number 4 was Oklahoma City. None of these surprise you at all. 5 was Minnesota. And when I was clicking through on defensive rating and I found out that the Clippers had the number 1 and Houston had the number 2 over the course of the last month, the Knicks are 6th over the course of the last month in defensive rating. So that has gone up extraordinarily.
But when you make these comps, what is the fixed variable in the equation is the amount of time, the last month. But what is the true variable in the equation is the opponents.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? So, and I think that if there was some sort of adjustments, I don't think the Knicks would be that high.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, look, you're always at the mercy of your schedule and for the numbers,
of
right?
Course. Yeah, you can only play what's in front of you.
Okay. And look, I think we would be surprised. The only one in the Eastern Conference, while the Western Conference is absolutely unbelievable, the only one in the Eastern Conference that we're sitting back and wondering on is who wins 4-5. Right?
I also think 7-8 is kind of interesting just to see if someone can just
I'm talking about, but we don't think that we don't think that any of the top 3 seeds are in peril of getting knocked off. And that is what is much different about the 2 conferences, right? We would be surprised if Cleveland, Boston, and New York are not playing second-round basketball. So we're only wondering, is it Pacers or Bucks? And then either one of those is a fun matchup against the Cavs in the second round, if that is the way it shakes out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Awards to be decided. Okay, so just a quick peruse of me looking at the odds. There's very few that are left to be decided, at least betting-wise. SGA is going to run away with the MVP according to the odds. Castle's going to run away with Rookie of the Year according to the odds. Most Improved, Dyson Daniels is evidently going to run away with that award.
I like
it. Had been Cade Cunningham was a lot of the talk throughout the year.
Been Cade. But then once JJ Redick sort of said what he said, it all just changed. The narrative changes. In my mind, and again, this is not a truly defined award. I much prefer the guy that came out of nowhere to be an impactful player that's starting in a rotation than when Ja won it that year. But it's like what are we talking about? Remember when he won it, when he accepted it, he's like, I'm going to give this to Desmond Bane. I think that JJ Redick does have a point that while the rules are not defined on this award, I prefer it when it's Dyson Daniels, the guy who couldn't even get on the floor for the Pelicans and is thrown into the Dejounte Murray trade, turns into the Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Then
I agree with you. I also thought it was quite funny on the JJ front, and I'm not a JJ Redick hater, but he's a member of the media, correct? You remember that?
Yeah, I worked with him. Saw him around the office. Great hang. Right. Great guy.
People went and looked up who he voted for. He had votes.
Oh, he had votes?
Yeah. And he voted for former lottery picks, too. So,
I think that some of those were more cut and dry than others years.
He's just making the case for Austin Reeves. That's what
that's what it sounded like. But I wouldn't even say that Reeves hasn't made a leap like Dyson Daniels has made.
And this also feels like, hey, we're not going to give Dyson Daniels Defensive Player of the Year, so we got to give him something good.
Yeah. It was also let's not forget that they were running the offense through Reeves in the playoffs before. You know what I mean?
Right.
come on.
Draymond, heavy favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, but I think this one is the one that could actually go a bunch of different ways. I don't think that this is decided at all. I think that there are going to be media members. I mean, you listen to Bill talk and you listen to Russillo talk. I don't know if they're going to be voting for Draymond. And I mean, that's at least two of the voters that have pretty big platforms. And I don't know if they're going to vote for Mobley, Dort, Daniels. Obviously, Ahmed Thompson made a big impact. But I told you a month ago, I thought that there would be a bigger wave for Dort, given the amount of the statistical relevance of what he has done against elite level opponents and their shooting percentages. And also that if I were just saying who is the best defender on the best defensive team, that in a year where it's all spaced out seems to be a realistic thing that could happen. Same way that it happened with Marcus Smart a few years ago. Though we do not typically give it to perimeter defenders, we looked and we said, who's the best defensive player on the best defensive team? Here's the award. And I thought that would happen with Dort. Obviously, bad weekend for this to happen when they lost to Houston and then they lost to, the Lakers in two very high-profile games, especially when everybody's thinking about awards. Because it's crazy. Like, Ahmed Thompson, if he was not going to make first-team all-defense, made it because that became on top of mind. Anybody that was watching him this weekend was like, oh, he has to be.
Oh, yeah.
He has to be. And honestly, if I just needed a stop to save my life, I would go with Dort, Thompson, and probably Daniels. Those would be the three guys.
Let me do a little wordplay for you. Just bear with me for a second.
Okay.
The difference in perception, it's a difference in perception between Draymond Green's defense and Dort's defense. And the word I'm going to use is volume. And volume has two meanings. Lou Dort has a volume of defensive plays. He makes a lot of them, and he's consistent, and he shuts down your best player, and your offense has to find other ways to score around him, like a great shutdown cornerback. I'm just not going to look that direction, right? That's what Lou Dort does to you.
Yep.
What Draymond Green does is the other meaning of volume. He makes loud defensive plays.
That's right.
At the end of games, and he'll point them out, he'll celebrate them, and he'll scream, and they'll make the highlight reel. And it's like that's the difference. And then he'll campaign for himself. Is Draymond Green makes great defensive plays and then makes loud defensive plays, whereas Lou Dort is just constantly shutting down whoever he's guarding, and it's not going to make the highlight reel. So I would say that it's really just a matter of perception. That I agree. I think Lou Dort is a better basketball defender. But I understand that Draymond Green makes louder defensive plays at the end of games that can sort of give him this perception of being a better defensive player.
And I also think that you and I are probably on the same page that if you told me you voted for Draymond Green or Evan Mobley or Dyson Daniels or Lou Dort, or there's no wrong answer.
You can vote for Giannis for MVP this year. I'm sure.
There is no. I'm saying there is no obvious, this guy should win Defensive Player of the Year. They all have arguments.
Do you know what I really appreciate, though? What I really appreciate is Rudy Gobert is not in the conversation. That's what I really appreciate. I'm so tired of him getting it and then getting targeted in the playoffs.
Fair enough. All right, so we've got a lot to look forward to the rest of this week. We've got Celtics at Knicks. We've got Lakers at Thunder, which has gotten mowed down because of guys sitting out.
So here's a question. I looked at tickets for Celtics Knicks, and then I said to myself, am I really going to get Celtics Knicks if I go to this game?
You're not.
Like, they're both kind of locked into their spots, and I was like, let me not spend $300 to go to MSG. I'd rather just spend $300.
And both probably have coaches that don't want to show their
exactly.
They don't want it because they know they're going to meet up in 2-3
in the second round. Exactly. So that's why I decided that's not even a game worth paying attention to. But continue,
okay.
Sir.
Hawks Magic could be very good simply because it could be a preview of what we see. They might play a life and death game with their season on the line coming up.
It might. But I was also looking at this game thinking, like, is this kind of like the Celtics and the Knicks, where it's like, we're probably going to see each other.
I think they got to worry enough about the Heat that maybe not, though.
Okay.
Right?
We'll see. But like these games that seem so big on paper,
no, you're right.
Like tonight's Lakers Thunder game, sometimes it's like, oh, it can end up being a dud.
Oh, no. But look, we've got to look towards Wednesday is unbelievable because we have the Luka return to Dallas and we have the Rockets and the Clippers. Like, you can't get better than that. And those are all going to matter.
Hey,
those are both going to matter.
I don't know how to tell my rec league team why I didn't make the game. It's going to be tough.
I mean, I guess you.
I mean, Luka Mavs is going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be maybe the most strange experience that we have had. Like, when has a beloved, like to that level, come back and it bit like maybe like when Wade went back to Miami.
But it didn't have stakes like this. Wade didn't leave in his prime.
No,
After
I
going to the finals, like get traded. Like there's nothing like this ever.
I'm saying a beloved guy that it wasn't his choice necessarily.
I can't think of anything. I mean, sure, it's happened, but I cannot think of anything comparable.
It's not comparable. I'm just saying there are times where this has happened. I will tell you this:
he was not playing in the Bucks, maybe Kareem in the Bucks.
No. I will tell you this: he was not playing. He was not playing a year ago, but the ovation and the response that Smart got going back to Boston was otherworldly. It was truly. They love him.
Barkley Sixers. Barkley Sixers comes to mind.
No, that ended badly. That ended badly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. There isn't really anything like this. And if you're a Mavs
not
fan,
like this though, not where everybody had your friggin' jersey. Everybody.
If the first possession Luka hits a 30-foot step back, do they cheer? Like, I don't even know how this works. There's no blueprint for this. There's no blueprint for how to behave. There's none. Which is why we're all going to watch it.
Rockets Clippers is going to be great. And then on Thursday, we've got Knicks Pistons, which very well may be a playoff preview, and Timberwolves Grizzlies, which both of those teams need a win desperately at the end of the season.
Especially when the Grizzlies.
Feel.
The Grizzlies, listen, these are NBA basketball players and an NBA team. They know they're getting on a flight to Denver right after the game.
Right.
And
so
they know it makes the stakes a little higher for this one. Yep. The stakes are a little higher for this one.
Real quick, before we get out of here, you wanted to mention a television show that you watched?
Well, no. I want to mention this is I've long been a MisMatch fan and a Chris Vernon fan, and I follow you on social, and I don't know when it sort of hit my radar, but the Chris Vernon show Masters recaps are one of the greatest things that you could ever experience in sports media currently. And you're not going to say it, Chris, because you are yourself. But if you haven't seen them, you have to. Yeah, because it's chaos. It's absolute chaos.
And
chaos.
Look, we're around the same age. When I tell you I am dreading, I'm getting old, Jacoby. I mean, I love how many people love the bit. But it takes more out of me than it takes more out of me to do those 2 days.
Seen it,
by the time I'm done with the 2 days, I can't. I'm like, and by the way, the first one is coming the night of. I told you there's a late Grizzlies T-Wolves game that I've got to work at. And so I don't know if I'm going to have a voice by the time I get done with this. And the amount of energy that I expend through that stupid bit, it floors me. I used to be
no
young.
sympathy for you whatsoever. I feel no sympathy for you whatsoever.
I'm telling you, I am dreading. I
don't care.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
Just tell me what's happening in Augusta.
I'm going to.
It's one of the best things in sports media. It's just
appreciate you
weird.
Saying that.
It's so weird. There's going to be so many people in front of microphones talking about that stupid golf tournament, but there's going to be no one doing it like you. And I don't even know how it started. What's the origin story of this bit?
Okay, so it's so crazy. If you remember,
I just want to say for anyone listening, like he basically just like I don't even know how to explain it. It's chaos.
We use Hard in the Paint by Waka. The whole idea was
the Waka Flocka Hard in the Paint beat, and you scream about the Masters
correct.
For an hour. Whatever.
And what we were going to do was the Masters. Nothing is more buttoned up and prim and proper than the Masters, right? So this happened probably, I don't know, 10 years ago. And so the idea was nothing is more stick in the mud, prim and proper than the Masters. Though I am a golf fan and I am a huge Masters fan. But like the whole idea is what is the most radical way that we could do Masters updates? And the idea was if we put this behind a rap beat and then I just start yelling things over this rap beat, there is nothing more not like the Masters. And what's weird is it's now kind of evolved that like there's a lot of people that grew up like listening to rap, like in our age group, listened to rap music and grew up like that. So at first, all the older people, they hate it. But now I've gotten into this mode where, you know, my peers grew up listening to rap music and everything. So it's not foreign. And they don't view it in the same way. It's hard to describe what the Masters perception was like when we first started all of this, right? And how that has changed. There's a lot more influencers and YouTubers and all kind. Like golf is younger and cooler than it was. There was nothing young and nothing cool about golf when we started it. Nothing. And now there is a lot of like there's streetwear companies that do golf stuff, and there's a lot. A lot of young people involved in it. In
Rappers
a way that
are golfing now. Like Schoolboy Q has like a golf.
Correct.
Line.
None of that was relevant at the time. We were just making fun of the fact that this is nothing is more anti the way it is treated. And the level of seriousness that it is treated with than a bunch of dressed up mascots and, you know, madness. And it's
madness. It's absolutely, it's wonderful.
It's chaos.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And low key, I watch it and I do find out what's going down in Augusta. You will get the actual updates.
You're gonna know.
You're gonna find out if Scheffler is 3 under or whatever.
All right, get to what's a TV show you want to talk about?
So The White Lotus had its finale on Sunday night. And there's been so much discussion and anticipation. I kind of love this when this happens, when everybody that you know is watching the same show. And every time someone comes over the house, we have a lot of visitors because we have a new baby. Every time someone comes over the house, we spend an hour just talking about the White Lotus and Rick and Chelsea and the Blondes and all of this stuff. And before the show started, because I put it on the rundown, I was like, let's mention this quickly. I said, Chris, I assume you're not watching The White Lotus.
Okay, so why would you assume that?
Because we've never discussed it. And it's kind of all I've talked to anybody about for the past 2 months.
Totally fair. You are right. Now, I will tell you that this weekend, there were horrible storms in Memphis, so you couldn't go outside.
Oh, yeah. I saw the Kentucky flooding and stuff, yeah.
All anybody talked about is White Lotus, White Lotus, White Lotus, White Lotus. So I went and watched season 1. I was like, all right, I went back and watched season 1. And I will say, I got done with it, and I was like, again, I don't want to get in an argument. I didn't know how I was supposed to feel. I was like, I didn't like anybody, and I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. And the way this all wrapped up is bizarre.
I love that.
Am I crazy here?
That is the appropriate response. You're just being honest with yourself. That is the appropriate response. I didn't like anybody. Okay. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand
By
how
the
it
end
wrapped
of it,
up.
I didn't care
and
about
I don't know how to
them.
feel. That's the experience. That's the experience.
Is it supposed to make me feel better about myself? Is that the thing? Like people watch it and go, "My, that person's a dirtbag. That person's a dirtbag. That person's a dirtbag." Like, is it the enjoyment of feeling like you're not a dirtbag because these people are actually dirtbag? I don't know.
I feel like a dirtbag just generally, and I can't watch a TV show and like wash that stink off my soul. But I will say this about the conversation around the White Lotus just before we wrap up is I'm just tired of everybody complaining about stuff that they love and watch. Like, it's like, oh, the finale wasn't good enough. The finale wasn't good enough. Like, I loved every second watching every episode multiple times. And I love that world. And I love being there. And if one storyline didn't land the plane and we didn't get a perfect little bow on the end of the season, that doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
Because it's better than not having the White Lotus in my life. That's how I look at it. I'm easy.
Okay. But you know this. I think you're being contrarian on this. You know this.
No what?
There's no bigger critics of something than the people that love it the most, okay? Like, wrestling fans complain the most about wrestling. Star Wars fans complain the most about Star Wars. Bill Simmons fans complain the most about Bill Simmons, right? Like, I mean, this is the way the world works. You know, Grizzly fans complain the most about the Grizzlies. Knicks fans complain the most about the Knicks. Like, this is the way it works, Jacoby. The things that you are passionate about, the things you love, are the things that actually affect you the most. You are acting like, hey, why doesn't everybody just enjoy something? Like, that's not what then anytime you're passionate about something, you care about it.
This is great because this is a great way to end the pod because it's really just a discussion about the human condition, which is what the White Lotus is. And I agree with you. You cannot hate something that you never loved. It's impossible.
Correct.
To drum up the feeling of hate, which is so passionate and so strong, it must have had to switch at some point. And exploring these little nuances of the human experience is what the White Lotus is about. And if you don't like it, then we're not friends.
Fair enough. Jacoby, I will talk to you later this week. Thank you to our executive producer, Jessie Lopez, as always, and we will reconvene on Friday.
Must be 21 and over in present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and over and present in D.C. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.